How's it going, everybody? I'm working on Big Red again. So I've got a hole in the frame. I knew that when I bought it, but it needs fixed. That way I can get inspected. That's the progress I made last night. I plan on putting some 3/16 flat bar in there. It's 6 inches wide, the flat bar I got. So I had to cut the gusset off of this bracket here. It used to come up over the frame, and that's where the rust propagated from. As you can see, where it was welded around the brackets is where it failed, where the rust started. So that's another good point. Whenever we do this repair, we need to make sure that we clean the metal properly when we're done and get some oil or paint on it. That way it doesn't happen again. Because I'd like to keep this van for a while if I can. Obviously, I don't know what the future holds, but I think this van is what we need for our family at this point in time. At least for planning for a family. When I say family, I've got a wife, but we want to have kids someday, and I'd like to be able to have a vehicle that can take them to the job. So, yeah, we got this hole to fix. I'm setting up the torch right now. There's the steel that we're going to be cutting. There's the big piece of cancer that I cut out. So I'm going to cut it oversized and figure out what's going to fit into the frame. I want to go in the frame, that way I can weld it with a lap joint, and then have holes in the frame that I can plug weld. Here's the torch I have. It's a what are they called? A DHC. I think that stands for Detroit, Henrob, Cobra. Those are all the different companies that have had the rights to make this, so they call them a DHC now. I love this little thing for welding sheet metal. It's the next best thing to TIG welding, which I've got the HTP for. I love that thing. They're both fantastic. I mean, the HTP is great because I mean, it's a fantastic welder. I don't know what I'm saying, but TIG welding. That's where I was going with this. TIG welding over torch welding. They both work. Torch welding is the historical way of doing it. Back before they had good electricity, they did have oxygen and acetylene ahead of electricity. As far as for powering a decent welder and all the technology that's involved with having a TIG welder, but the TIG welds, they just put so much less heat into the metal, which is pretty critical when you're doing sheet metal work. This is the Moon project, 1923 Moon. Hopefully this winter we can do some work on it. But that's where we're at. I'm gonna start cutting on the frame, and I use this since I don't have a plasma cutter. I haven't really mastered this yet. I mean, it might be perfectly fine. Plasma cutter would be pretty awesome though. I'd love to get one of the HTP ones. Just I'm a little bit broke right now since we had to buy the van and my wife's car blew up, so we had to buy another car for her, and we're also trying to get a roof put on the house before winter. So money's tight right now, otherwise I'd be buying a plasma cutter. So I will update you guys on how this goes. Alright, I'm back. Got the patch. Kind of hard to see right there. Let's get it over here. That's what I've got. I mean, it works. It's a heck of a lot better than the piece of cancer that we cut out. I've been cutting and test fitting on the frame to make sure I get what I want. I'm getting a little better with this torch. I've really not run a cutting torch a whole lot. I know there's probably going to be some of you that are like, oh, that's not a cutting torch, you need to get a real one. I've got one, but you know, these are pretty good if you've seen some of the demonstrational videos on them. They just take some practice and nobody knows how to run them. So yeah, plasma cutter would have been a heck of a lot easier, but this is what I've got. Yeah, let's go take it over to the frame. I'll show you. Try not to burn myself. So I can shove it up in the frame. I feel like I've got it upside down. Yeah. Yep, I've got it upside down. Anyways, it fits up in there. Let me get it figured out and I'll bring you guys back. Okay, that's the idea. So I've got it on the inside of the frame and I'm gonna weld it in the whole way around, and hopefully that's strong enough. And then I need to cut that off and get the exhaust out of the way. That way I can do the same thing on the inside. Thankfully the bottom and top are perfectly fine. They seem like they're plenty thick. It's just where the bracketry was welded to the frame. So that's it. I'll catch up with you guys later. How's it going, everybody? I'm back. Don't mind the compressor running in the background. It's in there. The welds aren't pretty, but they penetrated okay, I think. I'm not gonna pretend I'm a professional welder by any means. I mean, by professional, sometimes I get paid to do weld jobs, but usually not anything besides, you know, lawnmower decks and silly stuff. I know my limits. Yeah, I'm saying that as I'm welding up the frame on my vehicle, but I think it'll hold. I was fighting gravity. I was also fighting, my regulator blew up on the welder. I'll show you that. But I think that'll work. I'm gonna throw a thin coat of paint on it, and then I'm gonna be getting this fluid filmed for this fall. That way it's okay for the winter. Yeah, so I've got a Smith mixer. That thing's awesome. Then I've got a straight CO2 and a straight argon tank. Those are pressure regulators, so by instructions on the Smith mixer, I've got them going in at 60 psi. Well, I've been having problems with this regulator. It actually blew up again today. Something went wrong with the diaphragm and it fed way too much pressure down to the Smith mixer and blew a diaphragm in there. I'm assuming I'm gonna have to tear into that. So that's pretty unfortunate because that's a $500 piece of equipment right there. Hopefully it's repairable within my means. So since a CO2 tank has its own style fitting, I can't just use the regular argon regulator, but that's a flow regulator and this is a pressure regulator. So what I had to do was throw the pressure regulator on the CO2 tank, and I've got this thingy for TIG welding. I put that on the end of the MIG gun and tested what kind of gas flow I was getting out. I adjusted the pressure regulator until I got the flow that I wanted. I've got it set around 20 cubic feet per minute for MIG welding. Because I mean that's all that is. That's a pressure regulator with an orifice in it, and that's how they calculate what kind of gas volume you're using. So that's what I did to get the job done. The job's technically not done. It's probably done for now because I'm gonna be waiting for parts for my welder. so that's unfortunate, but I think I can drive on it in the meantime as it is, even without that outer gusset on there. Alright, well, I hope that's not too long. I'll catch up with you guys later. One of these days we need to make a video on Big Red, but life's just been busy for me, and yeah, it's been tough. I don't say that it like in a bad way. I'm thankful for everything I've got. I mean, I've got a beautiful wife, lovely neighborhood, a roof over my head. It needs. My shingles are going bad, and I need a metal roof. But hey, I've got a roof over my head, and I've got all these toys around, and I've got tools to fix everything, and I've got my good health. So I'm thankful to the Lord for all that. Have a good day, everyone.